right, hi everyone. Welcome back to Book Talk Tuesdays. This is our book review video show for kids ages 8 to 12, all about brand new books. I'm Miss Jessica. I'm a youth and teen librarian at the Chelsea District Library, and I have a special guest here with me today.
Hi, my name's Jasmine. I'm a student at Chelsea Schools, and I enjoy reading books for pretty much all ages.
Thanks so much, Jasmine, for being here with me today. Our theme today is realistic fiction, but a special type of realistic fiction. We're looking specifically at friendship stories. I know we have all been missing our friends this past year, and there have just been some wonderful books published recently that really are focused on friendships, so we wanted to share some of those with you today. The first book I have is called 1,000 Questions by Sadia Faruqi. And this book is about two girls from opposite sides of the world. First, we meet Mimi, who is a Pakistani American girl, and she lives in Houston, Texas with her mom. Her mom just got a brand new job. So before that starts, they're going to take a little break and they are going to travel back to Pakistan to stay with Mimi's grandparents for about a month and a half over the summer. At her grandparents' house, which turns out to be a mansion, which Mimi was not expecting at all, Mimi meets Sakina, who is the cook's assistant. And they're about the same age, but Sakina basically has a full-time job. Now, Mimi wouldn't classify herself as rich by American standards. She's just a regular kid. She loves the Dork Diary series. She loves to wear funny graphic t-shirts. So she's just kind of a normal, everyday, average American kid. But Sakina's life couldn't be any different than Mimi's. She works full-time at this mansion. She is a servant. She does not go to school. And in fact, she has never been to school. And even when she gets home after a long day of work, it's part of her responsibilities to care for her younger siblings as well. So she has a lot on her plate. Sakina is very, very smart. Through some of the other jobs she's had growing up, she has had the opportunity to kind of sit in and eavesdrop on school lessons, even though she hasn't attended school herself. And she has applied to go to a private school that could give her a lot of opportunities. The problem is, on her first test for the school, she did not pass the English portion. They're going to give her another chance, but she has to study and work harder on that section. So when the two girls meet, Sakina sees an opportunity, and she asks Mimi to help her learn English so that she can pass this test and have a chance at school. Although Sakina's life is very hard in some ways, she also has experiences that Mimi has never had either. So she introduces Mimi, who's kind of a chicken nuggets kind of kid, to mangoes, which is a fruit you can get here, but the mangoes in Pakistan just taste different. They're just a different variety. And so Mimi ends up eating 3 in a row, that kind of thing. The chapters switch back and forth between the perspectives of the two different girls, so you really get to know them as individuals and then as they form their friendship. And it's just a really, really solid novel, and I would recommend it for kids ages 9 to 12. I think you will love it.
All right. That sounds awesome. Okay, so the first book I read was Turning Points by Paula Chase. And it's actually really similar to the book you just talked about, where we have these two girls, and they're obviously already in a friendship, but they are taking like two very different paths over the summer. So first we have Monique. She is a dancer, and she's going to this basically a ballet intensive, basically over summer program where it just basically improves your dancing skills and all that. And while she's there, she has the racial barriers because they are both Black, and ballet, I think, is more stereotypically a white person's activity. And so she struggles a lot with fitting in and the way racial prejudice influences her view of her peers as well as her peers' view of her. And then on the other hand, we have Rashida. She is a churchgoer. Her aunt is really, really into all things to do with the church. And so Rashida is basically dragged along to all these events, and she gets caught up in this whole drama, including the kids at her church, and it gets really complicated. But the general gist of the book I got was basically how like the regular experience of a Black like preteen. So like I think they're both 14. So like right out of middle school, going into high school, and their experience in the world with all like the friend drama, the school drama, and that added like extra layer of racial expectation.
Yeah, and I read that book almost, I think last summer is when I read it. And I was just blown away. So I danced for a long time when I was a kid and teenager. I never got good enough to do anything professionally. I just danced for fun a little bit in college. And I went to a summer camp one year that was similar to the one Monique goes to, although it was only 2 weeks long. It was a very short one. And I just don't remember seeing many kids of color at all at camp. It was an arts camp. I can't imagine what it must have felt like. This book gave me some perspective onto what it would feel like for a Black girl to attend a camp like that. Definitely.
Yeah, and the way she talks about it, it feels so terrifying, even to the reader. Just like, I'm the only one here. Like that sort of, and probably intensified like by being like right out of like almost at like out of middle school and stuff like that. So it's just like you feel like this social pressure. You feel like everyone's watching you, and you feel like this anxiety like constantly. Just like, what am I doing? Do I have to watch how I act? Like what I do? Those kinds of things.
Yeah, and it really speaks to the author's writing about how well she can convey those feelings, even for readers who aren't Black, too. Gives you that empathy to feel what the character is feeling. So my second book is called The Exceptional Maggie Chowder by Renee Beauregard-Lute. And if you love comics and graphic novels, which Jasmine, I know you love them, your whole family does, right? You're gonna love this book too. It's about a girl named Maggie, and one summer she experiences a whole bunch of changes in her life, kind of all at the same time. And she and her best friend Latanya are so tight, they practically share the same thoughts. They're making friendship bracelets on the last day that they're hanging out before Latanya goes on her family's annual summer vacation. And without even planning it, they actually put the same phrase onto their bracelets. So that's how close they are. Best, best, best friends. While Latanya is away, though, things change very quickly in Maggie's life. All within like a 24-hour period. Her dad loses his job and decides that he's going to pursue his dream of becoming an actor. And so he gets a job playing Lyle Crocodile, which is a children's picture book character in a YouTube web series. So it's not even like a real TV or movie acting job. Her mom goes back to work because now somebody has to be bringing in income, managing a grocery store. They go from two cars to one car because a tree falls on their car. They were going to sell it, and now they can't even sell it to get some cash. Her brother Aaron, who has autism, is going to be starting occupational therapy, so that kind of adds another layer to their weekly schedule. And worst of all, they will be selling their house and moving into a small apartment. So everything in her life is changing practically overnight. Maggie learns that while Latanya's family was on vacation, that Latanya's father was offered a job as an assistant coach to the Seattle Seahawks football team. So they are going to be moving as well into a very large house. In fact, Latanya is very excited to tell Maggie that she will now have a walk-in closet in her bedroom. And there's a sentence in the book where Maggie says she feels like she and Latanya are on different escalators. Latanya is going up, 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 and Maggie is just going down, down, down. And she can't seem to stop this escalator or figure out how to get off of it. So even though Maggie stays super, super positive and tries to find the bright side on all these changes, she is really, really struggling. So like any kid going through a lot of changes, she turns to her favorite books to help her get through it. And her favorite book is a made-up comic book series. It's not real. It's called The Exceptional E-Girl. E-Girl like Eagle, the first part of Eagle.
Oh.
And it's about a superhero girl who solves environmental mysteries and saves animals. Maggie loves this series because she wants to be a forest ranger when she grows up. Every single chapter ends with a comic panel from the E-Girl series and helps to highlight the way Maggie is feeling too. So even though it's a made-up comic, there are some real pages of it. And in fact, I have one I can show you really quick. So you can see this is I think this is from the end of chapter 3. And it's just a cute little comic about this made up superhero. And now I kind of want to really read this series. Like, I kind of wish that they would make this into a real series, because throughout the book, Maggie references many issues. So clearly the author has really thought about what the comic book series would be like in addition to the actual novel itself, right? So if you love the books Flora and Ulysses by Kate DiCamillo, if you love Rules by Cynthia Lord, if you love any of the graphic novels by Raina Telgemeier, I think you would really, really love this book too.
That's awesome. I love like graphic novels and all that. Yeah. Okay, the next book I read was A Boy Called Bat. And all right, so basically Bat is on the autism spectrum. I didn't realize this at first. I was reading through the book and I was like, like the way he perceives things is like super logical and like it makes so much sense. But then I was like, I opened the jacket cover, I was like, oh, now it all makes sense. And none of that like when reading like books by like narrated by kids like not on the autism spectrum, you get so much more of that muddled like emotions, like what are people thinking about me? All this like different stuff like coming in all at once. Where with that, it's very simple. Like you know what he's feeling when he's feeling it, and like the way he perceives things is such like a logical, ordered way. And I love that about this book. So basically what it's about is that his mom, a veterinarian, she brings home this like tiny little baby skunk and it's adorable. And Bat obviously loves this skunk. He's super into taking care of it. He wants it so badly, but his mom's gonna have to take it to a release center, I think something along those lines. Or you like, because it's a wild animal essentially, so it has to be taken there. And so it's all about like him trying to like persuade his mom to like, give me the skunk. I want to take care of the skunk. Can we keep the skunk? And along the way, he runs into like some challenges, and obviously like his friendship and like bond with the skunk is like one of the central pieces of the novel.
It's no secret, one of my favorite books is Rascal, about a boy who finds a raccoon kit, a baby raccoon, and takes it home to care for it. A very different story, I think, overall, but that element is the same. And I think that friendship stories that involve animals have always been near and dear to my heart because of Rascal. So that sounds like a good one to me for sure.
Yeah.
So my third book is called Stick With Me by Jennifer Bletcher. And there are a lot of different friendships at play in this book. First, we meet 12-year-old Izzy and her former best friend. So there's some drama that kind of happens right before this story starts. So Izzy's former best friend, Phoebe, has decided she is better off being friends with the popular girls, and she has ditched Izzy to try and make that happen. Then Izzy learns that because things are tight money-wise with her family, they will be moving into the apartment that's over their garage for a week while they rent out their house to another family that needs to stay in their town for a week. Then we jump over to Ren, a girl named Ren. She's also 12, and she's a very talented figure skater. And she's not really focused on friendship drama at all. She has a very clear focus on her skating life and what it's going to take to get better at that. Then she learns that instead of spending her school break skating and at practice and improving her competition routines, she's actually going to be traveling with her family to Izzy's town because her younger sister needs a special surgery from a specialist there. It turns out they are the family that's going to be staying in Izzy's house for the week. And the two girls meet, of course, because Izzy is basically just living on the other side of the driveway. And they form a friendship that neither one expected to encounter. Of course, things don't go as planned. There's some stuff happening with those mean girls at school for Izzy. The chapters alternate back and forth like they do in 1,000 Questions. Izzy has a lot of anxiety. She's very unsure about social situations, especially now that her former best friend has ditched her, right? Ren is just really focused on her goals, so they're very different. And they both have their flaws too, like real kids. Ren sometimes is a little bit brash when she's speaking, so she speaks before she thinks and doesn't always say the nicest things or doesn't form her thoughts before she lets them fly, which can lead to misunderstandings, as we all know, right? Any grown-ups out there who are watching, and even you, Jasmine, if you've forgotten what it's like to be a 12-year-old girl, this book will remind you in an instant what all those feelings are like again. They just all came flooding back. Since it is a very middle school story, I would recommend this best for readers ages 10 to 12, I think.
Okay, last book here. So Homerooms and Hall Passes by, what's his name? Tom O'Donnell. So this one isn't quite like realistic fiction. It's more like fantasy and realistic fiction like combined together. So basically what the book is about is these, how many are there? There are 5 adventurers. Their names are hard to say, so let me pull that up real quick. Okay, so we have Alberix the Wizard, Thromder the Berserker. We have Sorrowshade the Elf, or like an archer. And then we also have Vela, I think it's Vela, the Paladin, who's like the knight in shining armor, basically, and the leader and positive reinforcement of the group. And then we have Devis, who's the thief and the sneaky one. And they're all basically in Dungeons and Dragons. So they live in a world which is a lot like Dungeons and Dragons. And they're just going about their daily routine, like saving people, exploring dungeons, doing all that, when obviously they uncover an ancient curse, which transports them to another world. And this other world is called Homerooms and Hall Passes, from a game that these adventurers play. And basically it's about middle school life. All like the monotony, like grades, classes, like dealing with stuff at home, that's all part of the Homerooms and Hall Passes. So, and it's basically a journey of like self-discovery, like what do you like who are you basically? So like every middle schooler like dealing with like, who am I in the sense of relation to other people? Who am I like to myself? How do I act in social situations like this? And just the awkward is sky high, but it's a beautiful book. All right. It kind of reminds me of Jumanji in a sense, except flipped.
Yeah, so it sounds like, so the characters in the game world are real. So the fantasy world is like their real world, and then they get dumped into
this game.
Into the game that is actually like our real world of middle school. I got it. I gotcha. Cool.
All right. Yeah, it's very interesting. It like mixes like adventure with like middle school drama meet together. It's amazing.
Yeah, and what I like about, I think all the books we chose, they have some sort of outside perspective like that, right? Where middle school feels so boring, but also so filled with little dramas that don't really matter, although they feel very intense when you're in them, right? And so the Homerooms and Hall Passes gives you the outside perspective of the fantasy world characters experiencing it. Stick With Me is another one where Ren is sort of coming into this situation that Izzy is very deeply invested in with her friends. And then 1,000 Questions is kind of the same thing, where Sakina and Mimi have lived very different lives and have some opinions about what each other's lives are like too. So we've definitely seen that in all of these books, which I think is one of the best parts about real life friendships, right? You get to learn about someone, even if they're your next door neighbor, right? That they're not part of your family. They're a little bit different.
Yeah, especially in Homerooms and Hall Passes, like being in this new world is very like testing to like the relationship bonds between the characters. And I found like so interesting to see them like deal with that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Jasmine, for helping me out today. I hope that everyone found a friendship story that they'd like to read. If you need help putting these books on hold, you can call the librarians at 734-475-8732, extension 219, or you can email us at ref@chelseadistrictlibrary.org. Thanks for watching.